Good afternoon and welcome and Happy New Year. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and a lovely New Year and ready to get started for this coming year. My name is Michele Jutrisa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up here in New South Wales, Australia. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and let's get creating. So let me pop my screen down so you can see what's on my desk. Okay. Now, I'm going to admit to something here. I've had this sitting in my drawers for quite a while, since it first came out last year, and this is the first time I've got around to inking this setup. So this is Inspiring Imperfections, and the Designer Series paper. Now, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this correctly. Kintsugi Inspirations. It's working on the Japanese theme that when something breaks, you repair it with gold and you can keep using it. So things aren't just thrown away, it's repaired. You know, your vases, whatever. And they have these beautiful gold lines where the cracks may have been. So it's following along in those lines there. I purchased this because I really love the blues in this. It's Misty Moonlight, and I love Misty Moonlight. I love anything in blue, to be honest. Hello, Leslie. Happy New Year to you too. I hope you had a lovely Christmas. So I'm going to have a play with this today, and we're going to be doing another fun fold. So let me just grab my template of the fun fold that we're going to do. Here it is. So this is it here. So it's a fun fold pop-out swing card. So basically when you open this up, that follows through like that. Now this one here doesn't quite sit nice and flat. I've sort of made a few little alterations to see if I can get this card to sit a little bit flatter, which will help when it comes to writing on the inside of it. Hello, Deborah. Good afternoon and Happy New Year to you as well. So thank you very much for joining me. So this is my template and we're going to have a play with this. So what I've got, let me pop this all to one side. What I've got is a piece of Misty Moonlight cut at 21 by 14.9, and I've already scored that down the middle, and I'm just going to fold that now. So I've scored it at 10.5. I don't normally do a lot of book folds, so it's a good one to do. And I'm just going to burnish it down that line there. So there's my card base. Let me just pop that down there. Okay, now I have also got a piece of basic white, and this piece here, I'm just going to read my measurements off this because I have just changed this one a little bit. I've made this one 20 centimetres by 14.1, and we need to score this at 5, 10 and 15. So let me grab my trimmer and let's do that now. Okay, so let me pop all this out of the road, and we're going to score this at 5. So I'm just going to pop this down here so you can see what I'm doing. 5 centimetres. So I haven't converted this into inches as yet, so I will try to do that sometime over the weekend. So 5 centimetres, and we're going to give that a couple of goes with the score up. We're going to move that along to 10. Now I hope Santa Claus brought everything that you're wanting for Christmas. And 15. I certainly was spoilt, so I'm quite happy. We started off planning we were only going to have 1 or 2 children joining us for Christmas Day, and we ended up with all 4 plus 2 partners. So that was lovely. One couple, my son from Canberra and his partner, didn't decide to the last minute they could come because he wasn't quite sure whether he could get away from his job. Okay, so that's our card insert. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fold this and score it. So I'm going to fold this first score line here. So I've got 3 score lines here, all 5 centimetres apart. This is the one that's going to be, I open this up, it's the one that's going to be here. So I want to score this one here. I'm going to fold it back on itself. So I'm going to start with this end one here, and I'm going to fold it back. And I'm going to get my bone folder, give that a good burnish. So that is that one. And then I'm going to fold this one up. So that's a valley fold. Then I'm going to fold this one as a mountain fold and take it to the edge there and burnish. And this last one here is also going to be a mountain fold. So I'm going to flip that over there and turn that back on itself like so. So what you should end up with is like a valley fold and 2 mountain folds. So it looks just like that. Okay. So let's pop this to one side now, and we're going to bring in our card base again. And we're going to take a frame from the, let me just make sure I get textured notes dies. Okay, and we want to adhere that onto the front of our card like that. Now you could do it by eye, you could measure it. It's really up to you which way you want to do it. And I've got a couple of pieces, I've got a piece of washi tape here, and I'm just going to use this. Now I may have to take a little bit of stickiness off this. It's very sticky, this particular one. Just run that on my clothing. And I'm just going to use my ruler here and just help me center this up a little bit. So I know that I want about, it's just about 1.5 on the sides and at least around about 2 centimetres off the bottom. So I'm going to pop that one there. And I'm going to pop that one on there. Now, I find this particular tape very tacky, so when you come to peel it off after you've run it through your cut and emboss machine, do take care. And let me grab my plates. I need plates 1, 2, and 2 3s. Pop those into there. Going to open that up. We don't need to cut all the way through. We just want to cut on one side. Pop that through and run it through our cut and emboss machine. So who stayed up to watch the fireworks the other night? I must admit, I didn't. We ended up going to visit my parents in Mudgee for a couple of days, and it was very hot and very tiring. So when we got home on New Year's Eve, all we wanted to do was sleep. But someone locally had fireworks just across the road, so we saw a few of those. You didn't either, Deborah? Yeah, our neighbours across the road let some off earlier in the night. Now I'm just going to peel this off very, very gently, and hopefully it's slightly at an angle, and hopefully I won't tear my paper. This is very tacky, this. Whoops. It didn't like it, my paper, that much. Oh dear. I have got a little bit of a tear in that. I should have used my normal one that I would normally use. But just peel this off very slowly. No, it doesn't like that side either. No, it looks like I'm going to give this one another go because that's just stayed on there too well. Yep, no. Didn't like that at all, just tore my card. You have to be very careful, I think, sometimes with some of the tapes and that you use. So let me just grab another piece of cardstock. And we'll try this all again. Okay. Do I have a piece in here? Yes, that's the other half. So let's use that. And we'll try this one again. So I'm going to score it at 10.5. Give it a few good scores. Now, where have I hidden my other tape? Just there. I'll use this one. It's not as tacky. Should have known better not to use the other one. When I ordered it from the company I ordered it from, it was supposed to be low tack, and it definitely isn't low tack. Okay, let's try this again. So we want to pop this onto here. Let's just double check. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. Okay. Let's grab our cut and emboss machine again, and we're going to give this another go. Yeah, I didn't stay up for the 9. I wouldn't have stayed up for the midnight ones either. I think next door let them off. They let a few off before it even went dark. It's the first time they've ever done it. I think other people further up the hill behind us have let off fireworks, but people across the road, it's the first time they had. Then they came back at about 8 o'clock and let some off because they've got some young kids. So it's good to see that, but by about 9:30, 10, I was in bed asleep. Okay, that's all a lot better, and hopefully we'll have no problems pulling this all out now. Okay. Yes, that one's definitely coming off a lot easier. We want to keep this centerpiece that we're taking out of the middle there. So we definitely need to keep that. So there's our card base. I'm just going to fold this, score this again. And what I'm going to do now is grab our centerpiece, and we're going to attach our centerpiece in here. No, we're not. I've changed things a bit. Okay then. So I've got a piece of designer series paper, and we're going to adhere this onto here first. So I've cut this down by 0.5 centimetre. So this is 10 by 14.4. We're going to stick that into there. Just line that up. Give that a good rub, just to make sure that adhesive is well and truly all over that. Now, what I want to do, because this one here does not lay flat, okay? It sort of has a bit of a gap there. Now, that might be okay. You can still write on there, but I just thought of this card, I would try to make it so then this can lie completely flat, because technically I think it should be able to. So what we're going to do, we only need to put adhesive on the back of this one here, this quarter of a sheet here. We're not putting any adhesive anywhere else. But what I'm doing is I'm lining up that center score line in my card base to my center score line in my white. I'm going to fold that back, and I'm only going to add adhesive on this section. That's only on 1/4. And then I'm going to just adjust this a little bit so it's a little bit higher up. So I've got my white, basic white piece a little bit more centered, and I'm going to fold that over like that. So just want to make sure that that's all centered that way. So that's that piece there. Just give that a really good rub to make sure that glue in there has gone to where it needs to go. Now this piece here is going to fold up. We've got our two mountains, and this piece here has to be glued to our front. So the easiest way to do that is fold that back like that. Okay, so we've just adhered that. We're folding this back like this, and then all I'm going to do, I'm just making sure that is going to fold nicely. So I was just thinking I might have to take a little bit off there, but I don't think I need to. And we are going to glue, put a little bit of glue just at the top and the bottom on those pieces there. So just here, and we want to just judge it so it's not lower than our window. So you really only just need to put a bit top and bottom. Okay, and then we're going to fold this back just like that and give that a really good burnish. Probably could have put a little bit of glue in there, but I just want to really just put it there at the moment. And then that's going to fold open like so, and that should theoretically fold nice and flat that way. So when it comes to writing or even decorating inside this card, it's going to be a lot easier. And I think it's still going to work quite well. So there's our card piece there. Now, as I said, we need to keep this piece here. So we're going to adhere this piece into our card now. Now, don't do what I did earlier. I'll put glue on this section here. We're only putting glue on the right section. So I'm just going to use, because my basic white piece underneath is taller and wider than this hole, but I'm just going to put some glue in this section right here. And then we're going to take our piece that we cut out from there before, and we're going to fit it back inside that hole. So you want to make sure it's all fitting there. You might want to be careful. You might have a bit of glue oozing up through those cuts around the outside of that piece. That then should give us a piece that folds out like so. So that should fold out nice and flat like that. So when it's on display, you should have something that looks like that there. Okay. So now what I've got is another piece of designer series paper, again in the same pattern. I'm just going to run my bone folder around those edges because I did cut it to use the other side but then changed my mind. So I just want those edges to look nice. And we're going to adhere this piece in here. Now this piece I have cut. I might have to trim it down a little bit. Let me have a look because I cut this one a little bit narrower. So I ended up cutting it at 14.1. So I need to cut this piece here, 14.1. I want to take 3 mil off, so I'm cutting it at 12.8. Sorry. I want to cut it at 13.8. And I think that is actually almost pretty much on that anyway. So if I'm going to cut that off, it's only going to be a slither. And this is cut at 4.5 in width. So I just wanted to sit just on the inside there. Actually, probably could have made it a little bit bigger. So what I might do, let me just have a look. What did I say, 14.1, and I've made it down to there. So I'm actually going to cut another 2 mil off because I made the other 14.1. Sorry, I'm just trying to see in the light. I'm actually going to make it 13.6. So I'm just cutting another little slither off because I've cut this 4.5 centimetres wide. So I just want to have it so it's that 2.5 mil all the way around, and that looks better. Okay, and we're going to adhere this piece in the centre here. Oh, I'm glad you're liking this, Deborah. So there we go. So let me just fold all that down. I'm just going to run my bone folder lightly against that. Just got to be careful. You don't want to do it too heavily because you've got all of those folds happening right there in the center. So there we go. It's going to stand like that and look like that. Now you don't have to cut out a rectangle there in the front. You can cut out a circle. You can cut out your arches, whatever you want. You just got to remember it's just got to be able to adhere that to that second panel, not the first. And you want it to keep and use this centerpiece here. So now we're going to decorate the front of our card. So let's pop that to one side. Now with these papers, you've already got pre-printed pieces here that you could easily just die cut those out. So we could just die cut them and use those on the front of our card. But we also have the stamps of this as well. So what I've got here, I've already pre-cut, found this in my stash. So it's one of the little stylish shaped circles because I've chosen the sentiment I'm going to be using, which is quite a small sentiment. But you can also stamp your vases yourself. So what I thought I would do is grab my Misty Moonlight. We're going to work out which one we want to use. So still might use the paper, but I thought we'll just ink this up and see what this is going to look like. Now, I'm going to ink it up on one side because I need to do a little bit more die cutting of something else on the other. So I'm just going to make sure I get good coverage there in my ink. And since I love the blue and white, I thought the blue and white white might look really good. Actually, what I might put is my foam mat underneath, if I can find my foam mat. There we are. Let's pop that underneath just to give us some padding there with using the photopolymer. Something I'm going to have to get the hang of doing. I might just do a second one anyway, just to see if I can get a better. I need to keep some of that, so I'm going to use this scrap here and see if I just get a slightly better image. Yep, that is a better one. So we've got that, so we can die cut that. Now I also want to, I've grabbed the smaller of, so that's the one I used on my front. And I've gone one size down to the next size. And I want to cut a piece out of there. So what I'm going to do, just going to roughly cut. Now this piece is a quarter sheet of cardstock, so I do like cutting down and using my quarter sheets. And I'm going to cut this down a little bit more because I'm going to use my mini cut and emboss. So let's bring out that mini. And let's pop this one through. And so that's going to give me that piece there. What I thought we'd also do is let's just cut up a couple of these, die cut these using these pieces just to see what they look like. So I've got this one here in, I'm not quite sure which green it is, but, and we'll cut that. Then we can decide which one we want to use. So that looks quite good. And then I've got the blue one here. This is blue with gold on it, and it's the same pattern that I just stamped. So we're going to have a bit of a play. That's that one. Also got, because on that sheet of paper came these lovely little flowers. So I thought we might as well just die cut that out and use that. Now, even the little teacup, there is a die to cut that out as well, but I'm not going to use it. Still have the one that I've stamped to die cut yet, but I want to do a little bit of sponging first. So there's that little flower there, which I definitely want to use. Pop that over my rubbish bin. Now, with this one here, I want to do a little bit of sponging on here. Not much, just a little bit. And I've got a brush here I used the other week and I haven't cleaned yet. So let's just take this and just need to tap off some of that colour because I don't want it too dark. Just want to put a little bit of colour on this, just so then and I'm only really going up one side of it. I'm having it a little bit darker at the bottom and I'm just sort of bringing in one side of that pot. Just so then we've got a little bit of colour on there. I do like that blue and white, so I'm not trying to take away from that. Hello, Joan. Happy New Year. So let's grab this again and pop that on there. Pop those onto there. Let me grab our cut and emboss again. This is going to be very much a blue and white card, I think, unless we use one of those other vases in the background. Let's just pop all this away. Put that away for another time. Let's pop that in our bin. Okay, so we've got all these little bits. So let's have a look and see how this came out. So there's our vase. This is all going to be layered on this here. So that's going to go down like so. Now I can't have this going up too high because otherwise this will never flip through that window. So we do have to be very aware of what we're doing. So I'm wondering whether that may even just go across there. I do like those two vases on there. We still have our sentiment to pop onto there. So let's just stamp our sentiment on this piece here. And the one I'm decided to use is You Inspire Me. We're just going to stamp that there in the center. So let's just take this piece out. I do like to have that pot there. I'm going to just use some seal on this. So when you're decorating, you don't want to go any bigger than that piece there. And this one here, I'm just going to use seal on that one as well. Now you could use your multi-purpose glue, of course, but I'm just using my seal today because I know that container is just about to run out. And that can go there. Don't want to pop that inside there because I think it's just getting a little bit too big, but I do want to have that on there just as a contrasting colour. I mean, we could just do that, but I think maybe that on there could be quite nice. So just have, if that could even sit on top there. I might just pop a couple of dimensionals on the back of that. Now I'm just going to grab two here. I'm going to put one there, one underneath. I'm just wondering, so I'm going to have a look at this. This is the baker's twine we had for Christmas, but I don't want the white, but I want the gold thread, but I don't know how it's going to look. So let's just take that out of there and strip this gold thread out and see how it's going to look. It might be too crinkly. So all I'm doing is just pulling that gold thread out of that white. And that breaks up into 3 pieces. So I've got 3 little bits there. That might be enough because I don't want too much. Just taking one of them, make that a little bit bigger. Just to add a little bit more. I'm just going to put a little bit of seal right there. That can go over the top. That, just to give it a little bit of bling. Put that onto there. Now, do I need that or not? What do we think? Do we need that flower or not need that flower? Let's put some glue on there and let's adhere that. I think that flower just looks nice on there. So what I'm going to do, let's just pop a couple of dimensionals on the back of the flower head. And then I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue onto that stem. And that can then just tuck right in there, just like so. Now, I'm sure, I might be wrong, but did this sweet bit come with some sort of gem? I think it did. Let's have a look. Use those ones anyway. They're pressed flower motifs. This is what happens when you don't use something when you should. Flower accents. I think it came with that. So let's add a little bit more. got a little bit of gold there, so don't need to add too much. So I'm just going to use the smaller ones, I think. And we might add one just there. Another one just there. And one more. Maybe there. How's that looking? So there's our finished card. So let me just get all of this out of the road and then we can have a look at it together. So what we've done is we've used a little bit of stamping. We've used the die cuts to cut out some imagery. And there's our pop out swing card. So that would open up like that, and the way I've done it, you can still flatten that out so you can still write in there. So from the original instructions that I found for this, I've actually just made the 20 centimetres in width of this basic white piece was correct. I've just made it a little bit narrower and I've added a mat underneath. So in here you've got this colour coming through again, rather than with this one here, which is my original one, you would just have a black or whatever colour your card base was. So that's okay, Deborah. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a lovely weekend, won't you? So what I'll do is I'll write up all the instructions for this card over the weekend and pop that all up there as a little tutorial. But there you go. That was my first play with that, and I actually quite enjoyed it. So maybe I should do some more. So, yeah, just a quite nice, fun little card. So thank you again for joining me today. Now, all these products you can find still available on my online store, and you can find that at Michele Jutrisa at stampingup.net, and you just go to the shop. Otherwise, if you go to butterfliesandbows.com, you can also see a link to my shop there as well. So all these products are still available and you can grab them all there. So take care. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your weekend. And thank you very much for joining me today. See you later. Bye for